Good afternoon. How are you today? Well, it's cold out here. It's pretty close to freezing. I think it's 33 or 34 now. And so it's got my attention. There's supposed to be a storm coming. We could do without that. Last night there was the most amazing meteor shower. I don't know if you saw it. It was to the southeast when I looked up at the sky. And it was near my favorite constellation, Orion. If you don't know where to look for it, it's about in that same area of the sky in the northern hemisphere. And you'll see 3 stars, which is a good starting place. And those are the belts of Orion. And to the right of that, as you're looking at it from the Earth's surface, you see the shield. And then in the upper right corner of it is the star Betelgeuse. So it's a pretty interesting constellation. But returning earthbound, what do we have to be concerned about? Well, 10 years ago, Sandy Hook happened. We lost, what was it? It was 20 children and 6 educators by gunshot. And what have we done since? Well, we had one guy get fined claiming that it didn't happen at all. And he certainly, Jones, deserved the sentence against him, the judgment against him. So, but what have we done? Recently we did some few things, but nothing about assault rifles. But there's a promise we're going to do something about it, but we haven't done anything about it, and that's the problem. America says it cares about our children, doesn't. Cares about its women, doesn't. You know, we are going to protect people from disease, but don't want to fund it. In fact, that's an argument going on this week in the Congress, talking about vaccines. We have such a split in personality between what we say and our so-called resolve and what we actually do and accomplish. The division is too great. And America can't be great if it doesn't start owning up to its responsibility. It's just not acceptable. There is a couple of glimmers of hope in the Trump category, in the sense that it turns out that he was held in contempt several times for failing to supply documents to the grand jury in New York. I think the fine's only $4,100. It's that little because it's written in the statute that way. The claim is that some of the things that Trump didn't provide would have helped the ongoing trial. But the problem with that is that grand juries are not to be used to continue to conduct investigations once they've returned an indictment. So I don't know what that talk is about. I wish they just included Trump in the case and convicted him and been done with it. One of my concerns as a lawyer who does criminal defense work, and long ago, and you can't always tell where this impulse comes from. It could be all the teaching, the respect for life, even for the heinous acts of some people among us. So I've never been comfortable with the death penalty in capital murder cases. There have been temptations for me to change my mind, but I'm always shored up in my resistance to capital punishment by the fact that it's done so clumsily. Now, if there's a ridge that we look to, it is our system is working if we're not convicting innocents, and more than that, we're not killing them, executing them. But there is proof that in our system of so-called just us, we are killing people who are innocent, executing them. So how do you support a system like that? A friend of mine, Barry Scheck, heads up an innocence project in New York, has since 1989. And he's used DNA to show exactly this proposition. So I take some encouragement from the Oregon governor, who has commuted 17 death sentences. I haven't read his reasons, but I assume they're similar to my own. I don't know how much of it is ethics or his religious belief or faith or his insecurity about the system, all of which are legitimate reasons to be against the death penalty. Also, you can't do these offenses without it affecting you, without it affecting the system in which this policy dwells, okay? Now, if you want an example of what's really wrong with society, let's go to the crypto con. Sam Bankman-Fried. Sam is down in the Bahamas where TFX makes its corporate headquarters, and he was arrested because of fraud in his crypto business and for campaign violations, and I understand there's some civil proceedings against him as well. In the last campaign cycle, he gave something like $40 million in campaign contributions. So everybody was happy with him until they found out that he was taking the money and enjoying it himself, and perhaps that's where some of these contributions come from, in a system that reminds me of what Robert Vesco used to do. Years ago, I ran an investigation of his efforts to countermand a prohibition against sending C-130 transports to terrorist nations, including Libya. And the people who investigated it did such a terrible job, a C-130 did go to Libya. So, but what he did on the financial side, Vesco, when he did his corrupt dealings, was he would get you a piece of paper that said you own so much of this or that or the other thing, and he would have you transfer your money to an account. He would have the money, you'd have a piece of paper. This, well, CryptoCon, I think, probably mirrors that. And those of you who know what a Ponzi scheme is, I'm sure there are aspects of that in what was going on. And basically what a Ponzi scheme is, you're paying the new person's profit based on people who come in after them, who supply funds, and then you give them a fraction of what they expect to get, and so they're assured that they're going to make money on the system. So you're being paid in a kind of pyramid of conned people, a big grift. And then sooner or later, the theory is you'll get caught. But there's so many people out there, you might not ever get caught. You might die before you get caught. And so that's kind of the thinking. Now, one of my beefs about this, besides the actual offense itself, is that how is it that the Southern District of New York can prosecute this no good in a matter of days or weeks, and we still have Trump running around years after he committed his offenses in plain view, while president and after that. So there's something wrong with America. And what's wrong is how one gets wedded to a system that as a hierarchy puts number one, money, to you, to your neighbors, to your friends, for your enjoyment, get to take responsibility for it, to those people who hold you in place, who come with their $5,000 suits while you're there with something less than that, rubbing it in, with promises of how great things will be when you retire. And they take care of their own. So it's sort of like there's the mob, and then there's the political and business class. Pretty much the same rules, fewer killings, lots of pressure, coercion, things like that. There's a lot of this in America, and as long as it is paramount as a motivation, the winning theory of life that is not so concerned about empathy or taking care of people, we're going to have this problem in government. We certainly have it now, and it threatens our entire framework. And it's unquestioned mostly. What they do is they feed us garbage about what they're doing when it doesn't coincide to what they're really doing. Now, yes, I know, going back to Plato and Aristotle, same thing was going on. But there are levels of corruption, and we've got to push this stuff back, because this is a cancer on the nation. What I celebrate this time of the year are the people I see helping and loving each other. You know, some people have kids that are home more, people are traveling to be together, people are sending kind gifts to each other, and it is the thought that counts, because we can, at a certain age, buy the things we want ourselves that we shouldn't buy. So that wonderful cake sitting over there in the window. I look at a slice of bread and I gain a pound, so this is not my outlet. But we have a special season upon us, and we should celebrate that and allow it to gird us for battle in the new year with resolutions to improve our government and who serves it and what they do. And there's going to be an assault coming from the Republican Party when you have people like Congresswoman Green saying things like, I would have done the assault on the Capitol better. Bannon and I would have done it, and we would have brought guns. And then a day later she says she's joking. You don't joke about that. It's just not right. And that's the difference. The division between democracy and autocracy, between good and bad, between righteous and evil. And we can't work with that. There is no compromise that allows that ink to come into our pure water, that permits us to be a party to that. And we have to understand that. We have to stand on that principle, because that's the only place that change will occur. The reason our Congress is so evenly divided is the people have rejected Trumpism, but they're not so sure about what the Democrats are about. So there we are. So as I stand in my chilly cathedral of trees until tomorrow, talk to you then. Bye-bye.